In previous videos, I presented irrefutable evidence of life after death and explained where we go after we pass away. I also clarified what dreams truly are and showed the tragic consequences faced by those who commit suicide after their death. Additionally, I shared some of the many NDE stories I've gathered over more than 20 years of researching the phenomenon of death and life beyond the material body. If you haven't watched them yet, I encourage you to click on the name of my channel and the video tab, where you will find all the videos I've created so far. In this episode, I will try to show you how to talk about death with your loved ones so that this topic stops being a frightening and incomprehensible taboo for them, especially for those whose time on earth is coming to an end. Let's begin. To have effective conversations with loved ones about death, it's essential to have knowledge about this phenomenon. The worst situation is for those who believe that when our material body dies, our existence dies with it. According to them, we completely disappear as if we never existed. Many people with such views whom I've spoken with try to appear indifferent to this fact. They pretend that there's nothing terrifying about simply vanishing one day and never reappearing. In fact, they often feel proud of their beliefs and consider themselves progressive. The questionable conclusions of mainstream scientists who ineptly study the phenomenon of death serve as the undeniable foundation of their knowledge. However, the truth is that they are mortally terrified by this vision of complete annihilation. And I don't blame them. After all, what kind of fate is it to live for a few or even several decades, only to then face the moment of inevitable dissolution into nothingness? From my extensive experience, I know that the majority of such people, when confronted with danger or impending death, suddenly bend their previously rigid beliefs and seek help by calling upon some transcendental beings. In line with the old saying, there are no atheists in foxholes. I've even heard some of them say they did so just in case. It turns out that a creator of all things truly exists. Similarly, this often happens when they try to explain to their children what death is, especially when a loved one has just passed away. They often refer to the faith in which they were raised, but later abandoned for modern atheistic materialism, and they comfort the young ones by saying, for example, that the deceased went to heaven. So in critical moments, their views tend to be quite flexible. Unfortunately, the most hardened materialists have nothing positive to say to their loved ones about death. They may try to explain that death is natural and inevitable and will happen to everyone. However, this in no way reduces the fear of it, nor is it scientifically confirmed knowledge. After all, mainstream scientists, on the one hand, ignore the evidence suggesting that we continue to exist after the death of the body, which I also present on this channel, and on the other hand, they are unable to prove that we certainly do not exist as non-material beings after the death of the physical body. Yes, my dear ones, it works both ways. The situation is much better for followers of various religions who not only accept that we continue to exist after death, but also claim that reaching some magnificent non-material world, such as heaven, is the purpose of our existence. This makes it much easier for them to discuss the topic with their loved ones. It also helps them come to terms with both their loved ones' deaths and their own, as they have hope that they will meet again in the afterlife, especially if their faith is strong. Herein lies the first problem. The faith of many religious followers is often quite fragile. This is due to various factors, but the most important one is that religions are largely built on dogmas, assumptions that must be accepted without question and believed in. This often raises doubts among believers because such dogmas are difficult to comprehend with our earthly reasoning, let alone to confirm their truthfulness in any way. As a result, many people are not entirely sure whether they will truly experience what their religion promises after the death of their physical body. This uncertainty still causes them some fear of death. People are also often forced to practice a particular religion by their family or society, which further weakens their faith. Some people even pretend to be devout followers of a religion just to be considered good people. Essentially, they do it for show. Most religions I know of also lack practices that allow people to personally experience the truth of the claim that we continue to exist after the death of the material body. All of this can make conversations with loved ones about death quite unconvincing and, as a result, ineffective. Nevertheless, those who follow a religion are in a much better position than adherents of materialistic atheism. Fortunately, there is knowledge and practices that make discussing death with loved ones much easier. I present some of them on this channel, and you will find the rest in my publication. This knowledge will provide you and your interlocutors not only with theoretical information and evidence about life beyond the physical body, but also with practical tools such as lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences that I teach. These will allow you to experience what it's like to be a non-material being firsthand. This will certainly strengthen anyone's conviction that continued existence after the death of the material body is an undeniable fact. I've had the opportunity many times to share this knowledge with people who were close to passing away. It was a wonderful feeling to see in their eyes how their fear largely gave way to a sense of relief and peace. For younger people, this knowledge allows them to take a moment to reflect on their life and choose the right path. After all, remembering that we are truly indestructible, non-material beings who have merely donned this costume called the human, material body for a few decades, we stop being so absorbed by mundane material concerns, and our mental horizons expand significantly. I have also spoken with people overwhelmed by fear of everything that might happen in this world. However, when they deeply realize who they really are, and that this current life is just a short, insignificant adventure in the face of eternity, they distance themselves from daily problems, and many of the fears that previously accompanied them disappear entirely. So, if you feel the need to comfort your loved ones in the face of death, or simply want to ease their daily existence, this knowledge will undoubtedly be helpful for you. I wrote my book in such a way that, starting with the simplest topics, it gradually explains the more difficult ones. However, remember that this knowledge should not be forced upon anyone, as this can have the opposite effect. Begin with small steps when you sense that someone needs this knowledge, and gradually expand its scope as they become open to it. That's all for today. Thank you so much for being here, and see you next time.